Going on, YouTubers, Mopar people? This is Mopar Man 1978. I'm out here doing a different video other than the generally and squad car today. Focusing on these 90s XJ Jeeps. As you can see, my Focus is a two-door sport, rear-wheel drive, automatic with overdrive, and a high output 4.0. Had a viewer slash subscriber having issues with the vehicle not wanting to start. It just turns over. A lot of people don't realize that on these Jeeps, the neutral safety switch also helps in the aiding of starting of the vehicle as well. In one of my previous videos I did quite a few months back, or maybe last year, I haven't looked at the video in quite a long time, but if you've replaced the crankshaft positioning sensor and the pickup coil and the throttle positioning sensor and stuff, and it's still just cranking over and doing nothing, have somebody help you. Come out to the vehicle, have them sit in the vehicle with the window down and the keys while somebody stands back here at the back of the Jeep. Have them turn the key on and put the shifter into reverse and see if your backup lights come on. If they come on and it still doesn't start, then it might be another issue, or it could still be the neutral safety switch. If the bulbs don't light up, check the bulbs, see if the bulb's bad. Sometimes they're just bad. But our issue was, part of it was the reverse lights wouldn't come on. I inspected the bulbs, there was nothing wrong with the bulbs. So it was a neutral safety switch. Well, we went and bought a brand new one. Wasted our money on a new one because the new one was defective. So we still had the old one that was still good. And then I read several months back on an article on how to take it apart and clean it. Anyway, I basically drew up a crude diagram, as you can see here, after the neutral safety switch has been taken off the vehicle and the cover taken off. Let's get to a spot here I can in the shade. Okay, basically this is the part that pivots, rotates, that slides onto the shaft that comes out of the side of the transmission here, and then there's a keep in mind this is a pot metal body, and then there's a piece that comes off the side of the neutral safety switch like this, and on the outside, so like around the outside of my fingers here, there is threads. Well, when you put that over that, what I call a real flat looking screwdriver piece that comes out of the side of the transmission, it's a rod with the rectangular end on it. You slide it up, make sure it's fully engaged, and then you take the washer and then the grade 8 nut that comes from the factory over that, and you clamp it and you screw it down, but you don't want to over tighten it because you'll strip the pot metal threads right off, which was a shitty design to begin with. But anyway, you get that tightened down, and then up along the transmission, on the neutral safety switch here, you'll have an oval shaped hole. Now what this does is this neutral safety switch, it pivots. The whole entire housing pivots, but it'll only pivot back and forth so much in here. And I think the bolt that goes in here is like a 10 millimeter or 11 millimeter. Yeah, fucking metric shit. Anyway, what you do is you put I'm getting ahead of myself. This wiring harness goes up along the back of the bell housing and comes up between the bell housing and the back of the engine block up by the firewall. You'll have to disconnect it. It's about 2 feet, about 2 feet long, I'm guessing, give or take. Anyway, you disconnect that. You plug it, when you plug it back in, and you get the bolt started. Have somebody put the vehicle, put blocks in front of the tires, turn the key on, put the shifter into reverse position, and then have somebody, and then as you start to adjust this, have somebody watch to see when the reverse lights pop on. As soon as they pop on, say okay, and then kind of keep a mental note of where the bolt is positioned on here, and then have them keep watching it, and then keep going past that and see how far, when the lights shut back off. Well, if they shut back off, go back to where the reverse lights stay on, tighten this down, hand tight, then have them put it back into park and see if it starts up. Neutral, see if it starts up. It should start up unless there's something else wrong with the vehicle. But if you've got this plugged in, the harness plugged back in, and you got this all on like it's supposed to be, and then it adjusted for where the reverse lights come on, you know where it's supposed to stay. Okay, now what I did was, this is the back side of what the neutral safety switch housing looks like. And there's that oval shaped hole again. Okay, now on the inside, you're going to see little square holes or rectangular holes, and inside the holes is going to be brass or copper, little skinny, flat, rectangular contacts. And this is just kind of a crude drawing of what they look like anyway. When we took ours apart, in here there's these little square rectangular pockets in between all this stuff as well, between the contacts. I actually had to take a small hobby straight edge screwdriver, like anyway, I had to go through the grease, supposed grease, turned into a hard looking wax type material. So I had to scrape all the old shit out and down in the grooves, get everything all cleaned up. And around in here it's got a rubber gasket. Okay, and what I did is I put a little, once I got everything prepped, I put a little black RTV sealant around all this gasket just to make sure when I sandwich it back together, it stayed sealed. But anyway, once I got everything cleaned, used carbon choke cleaner or brake cleaner or whatever, I took a small plastic brush with the little brass bristles on it, small enough for like what comes in a gun cleaning kit. And I scrubbed all the contacts until they were shining. And then you got this piece here, this part here it pivots like this inside the switch. And right in here, inside these little rectangular grooves, there's a spring that sits upright. And then these are the little brass or copper contacts that sit down inside there. The flat side faces up, the little prongs face down, and it'll actually move up and down inside this pivot piece here. But make sure when you go to put these two back together, make sure, don't lose any of these pieces, the springs or the contacts. Make sure this piece is already on the little ring that it slides down over around. It's like a little tube, a little short section of a tube. Anyway, make sure that's engaged. Before you put it all back together, I went ahead and put a crap load of dielectric grease in here, all around any moving parts, any of the contacts, filled the little pockets up full of grease. But I use dielectric grease. I don't use regular automotive grease. Or you can use a clear silicone grease from like that company called Super Lube that comes in the looks like the chrome caulking gun tube. Anyway, paper tube with the chrome coating over the outside of the paper tube. Anyway, put that all back together. Once you get it all back together, each one of these contacts is going to slide across each one of these contacts, and it'll make a clicking sound. It'll go, or if it may not necessarily make a clicking sound, it'll make a different sound once you come across these contacts inside. So then what you do is you take your multimeter, set it to where when you touch the two contact wires, it makes a beeping sound, or it has the beeping tone only. And you'll come in here on the end of the factory connector, and you'll touch the two contacts to see if they're in order. This is just, like I said, a crude drawing, but you touch the two contacts to see if you hear a beep, and then vice versa. I just followed the colored wires, and then I figured out where the wires went to anyway. What I did was I took, before I had the contacts, this all put back together, each one of these wires that goes to whatever contact, I went ahead and took the multimeter, touched one of these contacts, and touched one of these, and I went ahead and wrote down on a list what prong on the factory connector goes with which contact inside the neutral safety switch. Anyway, and as I went across the switch or the contacts, I would touch the two contact points on the connector, and it's supposed to make a beep. Mine made a beep, so I went to the next one. It made a beep. Went to the next one. It made a beep. The next one made a beep. Now on the new one we bought, it would go across the deal, but it wouldn't touch nothing. It wouldn't make any beep on anything. So it was a defective part from. We took it back, and I just shit canned it. It was a waste of money anyway. So anyway, let's go ahead and crawl up underneath the Jeep, and I'll show you what the switch looks like. I'll put the light on the smartphone here. All right, let's see here. Okay, here we go. Okay. Let's see if I can get it better. Okay, there's the neutral safety switch. I wish it would focus. There we go. See what I mean about the let's see here. See what I mean about that rod that comes out of the transmission? You got to make sure this switch is fully pushed back all the way, And then once you get this, you got to bend these three little prongs down on the washer so you can take this bolt off. That's what I forgot to tell you. Bend these little, take a little screwdriver, bend these three prongs down. Don't bend them too far where they snap off. And then unscrew this bolt. I can't remember what size bolt this is. I think I use a crescent wrench. Anyway, to loosen this up. And like I said, this is all pot metal. And then this threaded tube that the nut screws onto is also pot metal. So when you go to put this nut back on, tighten it down just where it's snug, and then you'll bend these three little prongs back up to keep the bolt in place, so this whole neutral safety switch won't, from heat and vibration, won't slide back off this shaft. Anyway, let's see here if I can get a better photo. Okay, there's that adjuster nut. Like I said, you got to have somebody help you. Have put the vehicle blocks in front of wheels. Have somebody go in while you're underneath here, and put the turn the key to the on position. Put it in reverse, and then adjust this neutral safety switch. Remember, it pivots from side to side. And then do it until the reverse lights come on, and stop, and hold it in position as you get a ratchet and a socket up there to snug that up. And let's see here. Yeah. But I made sure that switch was grounded just to be on the safe side, because these Jeeps have real bad grounding issues. So I made sure there was an extra ground on there going to these bugs underneath here, to the transmission pan. Anyway, I don't know. Let's see if we can get a better. Turn this around. I'm upside down. Sorry, folks. But yep, that's all you do. And then, like I said, that wiring harness runs all the way up there. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm messing with the zoom. I don't know if you can see it. It runs all the way up there, rubs up against the transmission hub, and goes all the way up between the head and the engine block by the firewall. But anyway, you do that, and it fixed most of our problems for as far as this Jeep is starting. But anyway, back to this paperwork. If you're wanting, since I didn't have my an old neutral safety switch to tear apart for you here, I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if we trashed it. So anyway, go onto the Google search bar. Just for shits and grins, just type in 1996 Jeep Cherokee inside neutral safety switch, and then you'll have, and then hit go or click or whatever, enter, and then you'll have a whole bunch of stuff pop up. But click on images, and then once you click on images, scroll down, and you'll come across a little box with a photo of this switch laying just like this, that's been taken apart. And underneath the photo will have this title, Neutral Safety Switch, and then that little space, that little symbol, the little bar symbol, JeepCherokeeForum.com. Click on that photo and it'll pop up the article, and it'll show you step by step on how to take this apart, which is just some Phillips screws, but it'll show you in more detail better than I can on this crude diagram. But anyway, like I said, once you get it all cleaned out, make sure you use dielectric grease or clear silicone grease. Don't use rear end lube or automotive oil or axle grease, bearing grease. Only use stuff to deal with electrical connections. Anyway, once you get all that put back together and you get this all situated like you're supposed to, this pivot, connector pivot piece, get it all back together as one unit, and you get it adjusted, and then you check the contacts and all that, make sure they're not wore out and making contact, whatever, making the beeping noises on the multimeter. Get this back into position, make sure this is fully engaged, pressed all the way as far as it'll go back under the transmission. Put that washer up there with the 3 little tabs sticking off of it, 3 or 4 little tabs sticking off to the side of it. Tighten the bolt down just to where it stops enough, or maybe, and then just do a hair more. Bend those tabs back up against the flat spot on the side of the bolt. Then you're ready to pivot the entire unit, and then, like I said, have a helper help you. And but anyway, that forum will have step-by-step photos of taking this apart, cleaning everything, putting it back together, so on and so forth. But hold on just a minute. I got the trash guy stopping out here to take care of the neighbor's trash across the street. So I'm going to pause this and start the video back up. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so the other day, since we live close to the Branson area, we've been seeing a lot of dumbass tourists and a few local dumbasses that live around the surrounding areas. Wanted to upgrade the Jeep's horns instead of the 2 little wimpy clown sounding horns that it came from the factory. So we wanted to still, my mom didn't want a toggle switch put in the Jeep, so we wanted to use the existing 2-button factory horn switch. So I went ahead and I had previously bought a cheap Dixie horn kit from online that was, later on I found out was a worthless piece of crap. And so you always, if you're going to buy the Dixie horn, make sure you stick with a Woolo brand Dixie horn. But anyway, I had the horns left over, and I had the air compressor left over from the kit. And there's the big air compressor. It's about 6 inches long. All I did is I mounted it up on an existing factory bracket here. Ran the ground wire over to the ground and ran the positive. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. And then extended the I snipped off the factory positive horn wire connector and just ran a connecting wire to a crimp connector that's got shrink tubing, and then I saved the one of the longest horns from out of the kit, which is a louder horn, more of an aggressive horn instead of a high-pitched horn. Mounted it up in here in front of the radiator, and then just ran the new tubing from off the horn down to the compressor. So, but that's basically what I did. I'm out here by myself right now. I don't have anybody to help me, but if you guys want to hear the horn compared to the factory one that used to be on there, let me know. That was the other thing. The other reason we upgraded to a different horn was we come to find out every time this engine was running in park or neutral, or it was we're in town in traffic and we had to blow the horn, it would cause the engine to start cutting out. I don't know what the reason for that was, but when we disconnected the old factory horns to this new style horn, it quit making the engine cut out. Anyway, but if you guys want to hear the air horn, let me know and I'll get somebody to come out and help me, and I'll do a separate video on the air horn. Hope you enjoyed the video.